microphone. Welcome to everyone. Appreciate you being here and look forward to hearing different reports this morning. We have some guests with us today, so we'll look forward to meeting them and hearing about them. So I'll go ahead and I'd like to call the May 29th, 2025 TEA meeting to order. And I would ask TEA members, are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Oh, you can't hear me?
No, let's turn mine on. Because I was going to say, I move we adopt the agenda.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm gonna have to, I don't like it. That doesn't move. You know, I told a group here recently, I said, people usually don't complain when they can't hear me. So, all right. And is that better? All right. I think we had, did you say something there, Curtis?
No, I couldn't hear me.
Oh. For you students, normally we're better than this. We're doing our best today, okay? So, all right. Well, we have minutes from the April 24 TA meeting. And they're in your packets. I trust you've had a chance to review them. Are there any changes to the minutes?
Chair, I move that we approve the minutes.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any opposed? If not, motion is carried. Okay, introductions. Do we have introductions this morning?
All right, I'd love to introduce, I shared at a prior meeting, I was walking so fast, I passed my seat. Have mercy. Middle school promotion ceremonies. Happy end of the school year. And I suggested that perhaps we hear from some students who went through the pathway, who now have opportunity because of this board and the many community college and two-year college partnerships, and to hear a little bit about their curriculum. I was hoping you'd hear from some of my eighth grade students from first semester, but they are at promotion right now as we speak. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Miss Laura Nichols. She's a pretty incredible leader at TCALC, and her students will come up. They know they have limited time, but they prepared a few PowerPoint slides so you can see what's available in the K-12 sector and how that's moving right into careers. So are we ready for that? If we're going to do it later on, just the introduction then, and they can just have a seat and wait until you call them. And so Ms. Nichols and the TCALC students that are here today, welcome. Wait. Okay.
Right. We look forward to hearing. Glad they're here today with us. So if there are no other, I'd like to call on Jennifer Brown, Dean of Instruction, Fort Hays State Tech. I have to get used to saying that. North Central. So she has an introduction for us. Welcome.
I have to move this a little bit. Sorry. I'm a little challenged here on the height side. So I want to bring up our instructor, Michael Cheney. And I also want to recognize his wife, Becky Cheney, who is here in attendance with us. So thank you for the opportunity for me to take a few minutes of your time. I want to recognize one of our instructors who's retiring today, and that is Mike Cheney. He's behind me here. He has served our institution at Fort Hays Tech North Central for 27 years as our construction technology instructor. Mike's story goes beyond those 27 years. He actually started with us as a student and graduated from our carpentry program back in 1979. From that time, he went out into industry. He then went back and earned his bachelor's degree at Fort Hays State University and then returned to us in 1998 to become an instructor. He took over from his instructor and mentor, John Lackey. So within their tenure of a college, we've only had 2 instructors in our carpentry construction technology program. So that's a big change for us to go from consistency of John, carrying that over into Mike and his legacy. During Mike's time with us, he has obviously mentored, served, helped countless of students through our program. He has built over 27 houses. So we, in our program, students build a complete house from beginning conceptual design all the way through. So he's been involved with that. Those houses are through our region and our communities. We have houses around the Beloit area. We have houses in Hoxie. We have houses down south around Salina area. So all around those houses have traveled. They get auctioned off every spring. Mike's legacy does live on beyond him being here with us as an instructor. One of his former students now is on our Hayes campus and teaches in the construction technology program. Mike has several of his students who have gone on to be successful in their careers, develop their own businesses. They serve as advisory members. They come back and help our program. They provide advice and insight into all of that. I know that Becky is looking forward to his retirement as well, because every spring when that house is being completed, Mike spends countless hours up at the college, making sure that everything is ready to go so that we can auction off that house come May. So that role is big to balance both the education side and that complete house build that he does. On a personal note, I do want to thank Mike. I've been at the college for over 20 years now. I started as a faculty member, and I can always rely on Mike being a friendly face, somebody you can go talk to, and being a great coworker. So I appreciate that side of his journey as well. So thank you very much for letting us to recognize him and his 27 years of service that we have at Fort Hays Tech North Central. So thank you.
Mike, did you want to share a few words? He and we rode up on the elevator elevator together, and I
I
asked
don't have a lot to share. I
what
mean,
what kept him sane after
yeah,
27 years.
my wife's kept me going all these years because she was an administrator at a K-12 school. So we both had to get up and go to work every day. We got summers off. So it worked really good. She's one that got me into education in the first place, because as a self-employed contractor, summers were my busy time of year, and I was pretty darn jealous that she got to go play golf and goof off. So that's what got me going back to college to Fort Hays and finish up a degree. Anyway, it's like Jennifer said, we've known each other for over 20 years, starting as colleagues, and then she worked into administration. She's always been a friendly face. So again, thank you for your time here and the recognition, Jennifer. Thank you.
Good. Well, congratulations, and sounds like you've touched many lives over your 27 years.
Houses is out here.
Good, congratulations. And Becky, we're going to check back with you in 6 months, see if you're still happy with his retirement. Well, good. Congratulations. Boy, that's what it's all about. Those that answer a call and touch the lives of so many students and set them on a path to success, whatever that may be for the individual. So thank you, Mike. Glad you could be with us today. Okay, we'll move on in our agenda. Comments from the chair. I'll have comments a little later in the agenda. So I ask if there's any TA members that have anything to report and their activities. That's a surprise. No, I knew you.
You're inviting it.
I knew you couldn't stand it.
I'm telling you why I was saving it for these young people so you get to that space. But I do want to mention the Washburn Tech graduation activities over the past week. You talk about a full parking lot and a full house. Hard to get in that space. Just congratulations to all those young people that are going directly into careers. The placement rate, I think, of all the universities, it's pretty remarkable just across the state of Kansas.
Good. Okay, we'll call on Vice President April White, provide us with an update on workforce development.
Thank you. And I actually had the luxury of attending one of the Washburn Tech graduations. Director Brown's oldest son completed a program there, so went to support him. Over the past month, our adult ed team has been busy. They've made the final notifications to adult ed providers, Part of that is they have set up meetings. So those who have been selected to serve as an adult ed provider have had to come into the office and meet with Hector and his team on expectations for this new round of grants. They've also been working closely with our academic affairs unit on a math course. So as you know, as we approach the fall of 2026, traditional developmental education will no longer be funded as it was once. Students will be encouraged to take co-requisite courses, but there might be a time when a student tests below maybe where they feel comfortable to join that co-req course. So Adult Ed is creating a course to prep them for the co-requisite math course. So just as a reminder, co-requisite math course is supplemental education and the math. So whether it be statistics or algebra taught at the exact same time. So to support that student being successful. Our career technical education unit attended 2 national CTE conferences where we were able to hear from our peers, the legal attorney we have on retainer at the national level, and our contacts within the Department of Ed. Our guidance thus far is business as usual. We did receive our federal Perkins Award notification, so we are funded for next year. So that's a good news. Our workforce development unit, we are working with the Office of Apprenticeships and the National Center for Apprenticeship Degrees to offer some technical assistance training statewide. On June 23rd, we will be at Butler Community College. On June 24th, we will have 2 different trainings. One will be at Garden City Community College. The other is scheduled at Washburn Tech, but I think we have exceeded the number of seats, so we might have to move that to a larger location. And I wanted to follow up, especially with the TEA members, the Kansas State University Associate of Applied Science degree that was proposed has been tabled. So BASC met yesterday. BASC is their equivalent of our program and curriculum committee. They did table that program and requested that K-State work with our community colleges and technical colleges on some sort of articulation agreement between the sectors. They also have tasked our academic affair unit here at the board office to look into what do we do moving forward when universities request Associate of Applied Science degrees. So that may include this committee looking at those degrees and weighing in. And for our colleges, just a couple of reminders. On June 5th, Director Chambers will be providing a training on submitting new programs. So if your staff would like any training on that, she is providing that. Reach out to her, we can get you that link. On June 24th, our DRP team is having our annual data conference. So if your people haven't registered, please make sure they do. And the July 8th, I believe through the 10th, Perkins and Adult Ed are going to have a joint coordinator meeting. So we expect representation from all colleges who receive those federal dollars at that meeting. I would stand for questions.
Any questions, comments of April? Before we move ahead, I just want to recognize and make sure that people notice Cindy is on Zoom and Keith as well, joining this by Zoom. All right, I'm going to call on Seth Carter, president of Colby Community College, provide us an update on the community college. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. As you will all be ecstatic to know, this is my last meeting representing the community colleges. President Konechin, you want to wave to us back there? She will be taking over. So mercifully, my watch is coming to an end. But before we do, we will go through and talk about Pillar 3 of the KBOR Strategic Plan, focusing on economic prosperity, intentional economic activity, and the community and state benefit that we provide. Allen Community College has partnered with B&W Trailer Hitches in Humboldt, Kansas to offer. Even the microphone didn't want to listen to me. I get that. That's fair. So I'll start over on that one. Allen Community College has partnered with B&W Trailer and Hitch in Humboldt, Kansas to offer a machining and manufacturing program on site. This allows students to have real-time experience and allows current B&W employees to upright their skills. Allen has also partnered with local nursing homes to offer an applied allied health apprenticeship to allow current employees to skill up and at their current place of employment. This will also help with retention and attract new employees as well. Barton Community College continues to serve as a vital force for education and workforce development in central Kansas. In their most recent economic impact study conducted by the Docking Institute, the college's economic activity has created 380 local jobs that provide sustainable wages. These 380 jobs provide $17.1 million in direct economic impact to Barton County. Additionally, in fiscal year 2024, it only cost local property taxpayers $919 per student that was educated. Among Barton's standout programs, its nursing education program, which extends beyond Barton County and created a successful partnership with Pratt Community College. These programs graduate students into high-wage, high-demand healthcare careers, impacting local communities across central Kansas. Butler Community College, as far as intentional activity, created a customized training provided to incumbent workers to develop their soft skills, leadership abilities, and increase computer proficiency. Participating companies to date include B&G Products, LTC Composites, and the Credit Union of America. Also, with Mid-American Carpenters Regional Council Apprenticeship Program, a partnership to provide apprenticeships within the opportunity to earn an Associate of Applied Science for completing their 6,000-hour apprenticeship. The Regional Council is responsible for training 4,000 plus apprenticeships. As far as what they have done with community and strengthening partnerships, they have created their open educational resource materials. Since the inception of this program, the initiative relies on open educational resources rather than textbooks that students have to pay for. This has saved $2.6 million for students in textbook costs. Several programs that they have currently completely rely on OER. Cloud County Community College. Cloud, as far as their intentional activity, generated $13 million in capital investments toward their Technical Education Innovation Center, which opened in August of 2024. That was a partnership with many area businesses and private donors. As far as their community and state benefit, more than 70% of Cloud's graduates remain in the college's 12-county service area. Cloud County is also the largest employer in Cloud County, which includes both their full-time and part-time employees. Coffeyville Community College. Coffeyville secured a spot on the prestigious Aspen Top 150 list. This marks the fourth time in the last decade that they have achieved this. The college prides itself on numerous partnerships as developed with local high schools, businesses, industry, community members, municipalities, and economic development organizations. Coffeyville is a longtime partner with Montgomery County Action Council and works closely with MCAC officials and city government in the recruitment of new businesses and industries within the area. We refer to this one as the real CCC, Colby Community College. As far as our intentional economic activity, Colby Community College created a new agricultural center in the fall of 2023. This was done with local businesses. No form of taxpayers' funds were utilized in this as far as local ad valorem, anything to that effect. The whole facility was created through donations and grants. Additionally, as far as community and state benefit, Colby Community College has added $24 million worth of new facilities since 2020. These have all been done through private donations, grants, partnerships with the city and the county as well. The Colby Commitment Scholarship was created last spring, has saved students over $500,000 in tuition and fees while attending Colby Community College from our 28 USDs. Lastly, since 2015, Colby Community College has reduced our full-time workforce by 11%, grown enrollment by 15%, and reduced the local mill rate by 16.15%. Cali College, intentional economic activity, the Healthcare Simulation Center. Cali College opened a new state-of-the-art healthcare simulation center. This facility will be utilized by the paramedic program and local partners, offering advanced training and simulation experiences that enhance the quality of healthcare and educational services. Additionally, as far as the community and state benefits, numerous things are listed, but Cali College will host a middle school robotics challenge competition. They did this at the end of April with over 150 students participating. This event encouraged young minds to explore robotics, technology, which fostered innovation and teamwork among middle school students. Dodge City Community College. During the past academic year, Dodge City Community College had created the following facility upgrades. They constructed a 10,000 square foot facility for the automotive technology program, renovated a 3,200 square foot facility for the industrial maintenance program, and then poured a 120 by 280 concrete pad for its CDL program. As far as the community and state benefits, Dodge City Community College technical education graduates are employed by 50 plus businesses in Southwest Kansas. In Fort Scott Community College, the intentional economic activity, Fort Scott Community College has collaborated with regional employers and workforce boards to align technical programs, which include welding, HVAC, agriculture, technology, CNA, with labor market demand. Each technical program is supported by an advisory board of local and regional professionals who have directly bring industry expertise, current trends, and hiring needs into the curriculum and development process. As far as the community and state benefits, Fort Scott Community College has a wonderful nursing program. It had a 93.33% first-time pass rate on the NCLEX since January 1st of 2024. Additionally, they have signed a new articulation agreement with Kansas City University. Lastly, but not least, or maybe least, I'm sure President Root is listening to this while he's on vacation, so Garden City Community College. Their economic prosperity. Garden City has started the first cohort of the newly approved Community Healthcare Worker Certification. Garden City Community College is the first institution in the state of Kansas to offer this program. The Community Healthcare Worker Program at Garden City Community College equips students with the skills and knowledge to become vital links between healthcare providers and the communities that they serve. CHW plays a crucial role in improving access to healthcare, promoting healthy lifestyles, and fostering trust within a diverse population. And then you can see within the report the various career outlooks that those programs support. I stand for any questions or concerns as presented.
Okay, any questions, comments? Thank you, Seth.
Thank you so much.
Next, we'll call on Jim Jeanette, President of Manhattan Area Technical College. Give us an update report from Technical College. Welcome, Jim.
Morning. Takes a while for the old bones to move. Been fun sitting by and working with Seth the last several months. I appreciate the work he does with his members. You have our report. I'm going to hit a few highlights, and then I want to discuss a couple things. Emporia, Flint Hills Tech and Emporia, you see, they do a superb job reaching out to the Hispanic population. They have some everyday events, everyday activities and services, but you see in the report they had some special events with Cinco de Mayo. They're also working with Level Up Kansas to expand dental assisting, dental hygiene programs and awareness of those programs in their area. And students in their industrial engineering tech and graphic arts technology program have worked with community members to do some reverse interview processes. A lot of that is designed to give the students a chance to work with those businesses on projects and help design projects. And it's probably a good opportunity for some micro internships. Trying to say the buzzword for him over there. Flint Hills Tech, along with several of the tech colleges, Manhattan Tech, I know, a couple others. The recent reclassification systems from the Carnegie Foundation came out, and several of us were recognized as Opportunity College and universities, and also for higher access and higher earnings. And that's a fairly small percent of the about 4,000 institutions that they rank. And that classification just reinforces the success we have. With economic prosperity, Flint Hills Tech has worked with Kansas Works to make sure that the institution's CDL licensure operations have helped with the former Tyson's employees to transition into potential truck driving jobs and or similar skills with area businesses. And then they've added a member from Michelin to their full board. Their board is interesting. They've got a list here of who all represents different businesses on their board. And again, that's fairly typical of all of our boards that help us drive our institutions. Fort Hays Tech Northwest, working on planning for a new childcare facility on the campus called Tiny Tigers. They're going to use some existing space on campus, do some renovations, and they're hoping to get that going within the next several months. I'll come back to us in a minute. Washburn Tech, Scott and the crew there do amazing things. They did their community-wide car show that raised about $3,000 for their care closet. They presented another vehicle to a needy family. National Signing Day, they had about 250 students participate. They also inducted over 60 students in National Tech Honor Society. They've had alumni events. Wichita Tech had over 275 students at their signing day. Many were offered $1,000 scholarships, and 78% of those who attended are already enrolled for the fall semester. Again, one of the things Wichita Tech's known for is aerospace, and they have a Choose Aerospace is now a national program, gives them broad exposure. They're also working with five high schools in the state and seeking other partners to help trained workforce for the aerospace industry. And just a few days ago, they had their largest graduating class in the 60-year history of that institution, with over 1,200 students graduating with Associate of Applied Science degrees or technical certificates. Manhattan Tech, I want to discuss a couple things. One is on your consent agenda is about our childcare program, but I want to tell you real quick about the design of that program because it's unique. Two childcare providers, a mother who needs childcare, started working about 24 months ago on an idea, and it came to the forefront with the chamber. The chamber brought it to us, Manhattan Tech, and also to the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation. So if you've been in Manhattan recently, or if you're going to be recently, if you go by the hospital, via Christie Hospital, you'll see construction going on right in front on Kimball. And that is the new Child Care Flint Hills Business Accelerator project. The funding is funneled through the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation. They have state and federal grants. The facility will open this fall. It has 8 pods that are designed as childcare incubators. People will be able to take those, rent them out. They have to get licensed for the space and start childcare operations. 4 of the 8 are already leased out. In addition, we will be on site in that facility to provide the curriculum, as well as other classes that are needed. Kansas Works will be on site, and one day a week there'll be a free medical clinic available. We already have 30 Manhattan High School students lined up for childcare classes through the high school through using our curriculum this fall. It's a very unique project. We're hoping it works. It better work. But it's a heck of an idea, an example of how when all these different entities get together, brainstorm, and come up with a plan. The other thing I want to tell you about, 10 years ago when I got to Manhattan Tech, nobody thought too much of us. And I told our folks, our goal is to be a seat at the table on economic development in town. We not only have a seat at the table, we're dealing the cards half the time, because companies are reaching out to us first before they even contact the chamber or the city. We have a new company coming to town, expanding from a nearby location. First people they reached out to was Manhattan Tech to find out, could we provide their workforce? So 145 new jobs are coming to Manhattan in the next few months. And again, that's the example. It's not just Manhattan Tech, it's all of the tech colleges, and it's many of the community colleges through their tech programs. If you're reading any of the national news trends in education and workforce, Gen Z, Gen Alpha are looking harder and harder at going into workforce, into tech workforce skills, because this thing called AI is scaring them, and the prediction is AI will impact white-collar jobs faster. So I would urge you, challenge you to help us think, how do we restructure policies, procedures, et cetera? Because I think the need for skilled workforce is going to be greater than ever, and a great way to keep people in the state. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
Just a comment on that incubator, that is incredibly innovative. I would love to have students from Topeka go visit that in Manhattan. That's.
I'll let you know when the ribbon cutting right now is scheduled for first part of August, so I'll make sure April gets that to get out to you.
Thank you. And when we do get to the discussion or the agenda after the consent agenda, since it is the last day, half day, all these young people are volunteering at schools. If there's a way for them to present after the consent, or you begin the next section, that would be great. That's excellent. Thank you, Jim.
Well, I want to thank you, Jim, but thank both you and Seth for your leadership this last year together. Appreciated information and your willingness to step up and sometimes step into a mess or two. So thank you so much. All right, we are going to move on to our consent agenda, and you'll see there we've got quite a list. We've got one item from the Budget and Finance Committee and 15 items from the Tech Program and Curriculum Committee. And I guess I would ask Mike or Curtis if they have any comments to make before we take a vote.
I don't have any comments. I'll just move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any member opposed? If not, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to our guests, if that's okay.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate
bet.
that. And thank you for all of our students, given this is the final day of school. Many of these are seniors going into the workforce, and many of them benefited from the community colleges and tech institutions you just heard both Seth and Jim talk about. And so they'll share those partnerships. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Laura Nichols. She works at TCALC while the principal is Mr. Dustin Dick. She is the day-to-day administrator, supporting administrator that runs the program and has developed all kinds of new things. And many of these students are governor's scholars, honor students, and they've all received scholarships for their next post-secondary experience. We're glad that you're here.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
You know, I did ask her when I met her, I said, what year in school are you?
She texted me. She was
Th-
quite tickled that.
Yeah,
you
nobody's
said
been that
yeah.
nice to me in a very long time. Thank you so much.
Well,
Yeah, thank you for having us and Dr. Anderson for inviting us. I'm going to just give you a couple brief updates. At TCALC, we have some things changing, and you guys were supportive of a program we're launching next year just a couple meetings ago. These first two really come from industry, and we're very excited to be able to support Topeka. Stormont Vail has been a fantastic partner for us in the last several years. We have been educating CNAs. I think we've done 6 semesters now of CNA education with Stormont Vail staff. Whoever has the slide thing, will you hit the button for me? Thank you. So next year we will begin patient care tech training. We will be the only high school offering this program in person. Lots of our technical schools in Kansas offer this as an online option with some in-person clinical training. So Ms. Clark and the KSDE group has been supportive. Stormont Vail led a statewide initiative to have this become a recognized credential for our high school students. So our instructors are hard at work preparing, creating clinical internship opportunities, and we will offer dual certification for phlebotomy and PCT through a 1-year program at TCALC. So we're very excited about that. The next one is in the automation industrial manufacturing sector, which I think Kansas is highly invested in, and that industry is growing pretty rapidly. We've had several industry partners come and say, why aren't you teaching these classes? How do we help you teach these classes? We need kiddos trained in this area. So we've been talking with Washburn Tech and purchased some new equipment through a Perkins Reserve grant, restructuring some things in our building to be able to offer this. We took a group of kids a couple weeks ago, along with Go Topeka and several industry partners, to KCK to tour their FAME program. And we believe Washburn Tech will get in the FAME chapter world here in the next year or two. So we're very excited about that opportunity. The last one, and one that a couple of these guys will talk to you about, is the teaching program. So we will shift from just high school elective courses in the teaching world to a full associate's degree in a partnership with Washburn and Washburn Tech. So as juniors enter our program, they will complete their high school graduation requirements. They will earn 60 hours and an associate's degree in education, and then they will work half day in our district as a teacher apprentice. So we've got, I think we're through all the hurdles there. We've got our registered apprenticeship set up, and we'll get kids in the fall and we'll get going. KSD has, again, been incredibly supportive. Mr. Joel Gillespie, Dr. Joel Gillespie has started a focus group. So we'll start meeting with some other schools in Kansas in July to talk about how we can replicate that. We all know teaching is a high need in our industry or in our state. So those are just some things that are coming next year. The other thing I want to say about TCALC is, listening to the technical things that are happening, and we do that, but we also encourage students to just explore, right? So they come to our school for a couple hours a day, and while they may be in a technical program, they also have the opportunity to explore lots of careers in those fields. So these 4 young people behind me have all gone through. They didn't necessarily earn a certificate, and they'll tell you a little bit about their plans, but they all plan to pursue bachelor's degrees after things they have learned and experienced at our Career and Technical Education Center. So I think it's important to recognize Gen Z and their desire to explore, right? To maybe enter the workforce, but also see upward mobility and opportunities for them along the way. We know they don't stay in careers for very long. They like to move. So helping them explore what's out there and what's available for them is a big part of what we do. Who wants to go first? I'll let them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they've learned.
As you introduce yourself, can you share where you're going next year, if you have earned a credential or certificate? And then when you're all done, I'm sure they may have a question or two.
Yeah, of course. Hi, my name is Jacory Wilson. I just graduated from Topeka West High School as senior class president, of course. So I did do a lot of speaking. I love speaking, as all of you do too. I'm on my way to go to Washburn University and to study in education, minoring in special education and majoring in music education. So on my way to Washburn University for the first 2 years. And then my last 2 years, I'm going to go to K-State, which is the College of Education. So I get a kind of taste of both, places. I did the teaching pathways at TCALC. And with the teaching pathways comes a lot of opportunities. As we can all agree that education is a format that everybody has to go through in order to get where they're going. And so with that, we've completed not necessarily certificates, but CPR certified training. We've done Kansas education things as of meeting with other students across different colleges, different high schools, different counties. And we love what we do because there's teachers teaching us how to teach. So we've even gone to the elementary schools, and we've Williams Elementary School to be specific, and we have helped with the kindergartners with math and with some reading skills. So we just really enjoy that. So yeah, that's all I have for you. Thank you. I do. Sorry, forgot about that. So I signed a contract with Dr. Anderson and her team to, after my college years, I am going to go ahead and work in 501. So yeah.
This idea of waiting 4 years for young people to graduate, and that's in any pathway, including the career technical pathways they go into. They want to go into engineering or automation. If we can find a partner to hire them 4 years early or before their certificate is complete, then we have that pipeline right here in Topeka. So we're excited about one of our future teachers 4 years from now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jacory.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jahara. I graduated from Topeka High School this year. And for my next 4 years, I'm going to attend Kansas University, majoring in political science with a minor in business. And I'm in their honors program as well. And then I plan to go, to law school for 3 years. So I had the extraordinary opportunity of attending TCALC for about 1.5 years, my junior and senior year, halfway through, before I had to leave it, sadly, for some scheduling things. But I can confidently say that TCALC was one of the best educational experiences I've ever had. I think we can all agree that it's one thing to be lectured by someone and to watch a slideshow of someone telling you about things, but it's another thing to get hands-on experience with it. And so at TCALC, we were able to not only, yes, be lectured about forensic science and learn things about it, but we had hands-on experience with that. I remember we got to identify different bite marks. We got to identify different blood splatter patterns. We had different opportunities to kind of pretend like we were in a crime scene and like we were trying to figure out what happened and things like that. And so it was really an enriching experience. And even though I planned to go on to be a lawyer and it was more police-based, I definitely feel like I learned some law stuff. We had entire units based on all the different types of law. And when I went to TCALC originally, I was struggling with which type of law I wanted to enter, but through TCALC, I was able to figure out what I want to be, which would be a corporate lawyer. And I was able to get my Stop the Bleed certification through TCALC, as well as CPR certification, which helped me outside of school as well. I work at the Cove, which is a lake obstacle course, and you're required to have CPR certification there, which I already had through TCALC. So it's helped me in other ways other than college and law-related things. So I can definitely say that TCALC was a great experience, and I miss it every day.
The final student, if they have questions, thank you all so much, and we're so proud of you.
Good morning. My name is Zach Buffington. Sorry, I just graduated from Topeka West High School, and I was a member of College Prep, which is housed at TCALC, as well as a member of the Teaching Pathway. I was part of the Teaching Pathway my sophomore and junior year, and then for the last year, I've been doing teaching internships, both in middle school and high school classrooms. With college prep, that was a program that started for me in 7th grade and then continued up through the end of high school. I am now graduating with 18 college credit hours, 12 of which came from college prep directly. College prep taught me about, so I'll try not to reiterate a lot of what Ja'Cory said about the teaching pathway, just to save you guys some time. I'll talk more about college prep. They taught me a lot of stuff about leadership and public speaking. So I was able to travel to Washington, D.C. To have public speaking experiences. We had countless different opportunities where we were able to get up in front of a crowd and practice just talking to people in front of an audience, usually practicing just kind of off the cusp but not memorized, being able to get those experiences and those skills that a lot of people don't get It really helped me. I started as a very quiet student, and that hasn't, I would say I'm still somewhat quiet, but I've definitely come out of my shell thanks to college prep, and I've gained a lot of important skills that I think will help me in my life. I plan to return after I get my bachelor's degree at Washburn University for history education to Topeka Public Schools. I've already signed my letter of intent to hire.
Thank you. And Zach is one of the students that took your legislative agenda from this Board of Regents and met with senators lobbying for change and support for CTE. We're proud of you, Zach. Thank you for being here.
Thank
All right. Last but not least, first and foremost, how are you all doing today? I know you guys have been listening to a lot of people come up here. So, hello, my name is Jordan Toombs, and I just graduated from Topeka West High School. Now, I think something that is a little bit unique about the pathway that I had, which was web and digital communications, something a little unique about me and my experience is that I kind of got to go in filming and working on video projects and kind of witness and see what everyone was doing. So whenever I would go into phlebotomy and I got to see people kind of doing their blood work and, pricking and prying and seeing all the different things, I got to go into teaching and talk to the staff members and interview them and kind of get a feel for what each and every person got to experience. And I think that is such a unique thing that not only I can be learning about my career path or, developing skills in filming and learning how to interview and edit and all of those things, but also being able to take that and go and see and respect and learn about what everyone else is doing. So for me, like I said, my pathway was web and digital communications. So if you are thinking about the person who made the poster or runs the social media or the advertisements for the Super Bowl, those are kind of the people that would be in my pathway. So for us, we got to take Allen County courses. So it's completely free to us. And I took Photoshop, Advanced Photoshop, Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. So that's a really amazing opportunity that I personally had. So when I go to K-State in the fall for business marketing, I'll be able to go and transfer those credits. Also, when it comes to my career choice, I'm not completely sure exactly what I want to do, but I know going forward, I would love to start a marketing agency of my own. And so I think it's a really cool thing that you can go into whatever field. Adobe is kind of the hub of information. So whatever industry that you're entering, they all use Adobe. So being able to have those skills in hand and have it kind of in your toolbox and being able to say, oh, I don't necessarily have to go through the training of learning how to do this, or I don't have to pay $100 a year in order to be able to use this suite right now. Being able to use everything and take those projects, build your own portfolio are all amazing things that I've been able to do. So do you guys have any questions for us?
Okay, any questions or comments?
Please. We'd love to answer.
I think we have. Hadley?
I want to thank you all for coming today. Laurel Nichols, your students, congratulations. You're outstanding and thank you for sharing. So I have a question. I have two questions. So how did you learn about the opportunities at TCALC? And what would you recommend, or how would you recommend other students and families learn about the opportunities, and how soon should they start learning about these so that they can be aware of everything you can accomplish in high school?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. All right. So In fact, actually, this past week, we had fifth graders come over to TCALC. So we had like little stations set up all around our campus. And for me, of course, I'm going to have music playing. I'm going to teach them things. They're going to get candy for answering questions. But when they came, they were all asking questions about like, how do I get involved? Like, this is so cool. I would love to keep learning about this. I want to be a firefighter or a police officer. So I definitely think, um, we've taken initiative and Ms. Nichols has taken initiative to connect us with other schools in the district from elementary school to middle school to the high school level. And they all have tours. I know for me, I found out because they just said, hey, we're going to TCALC. And I was like, okay. And they signed all of the junior class up to go and to tour. And so we were able to get involved, to sign up, talk to our counselors, and they obviously base it based upon, hey, are you doing well in the classes that you have now? Because we don't want to sign you up and, have a rocky road. But that's kind of how I got into it. And I definitely think that we've done a great job of marketing to younger audiences. Like Zach was saying, he came in the college prep and they start in middle school. So I think that's just an amazing thing that we offer. Yes.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
As they conclude and prepare to get back to school, the idea that what if every high school had every student graduate with an industry credential? I mean, that is ultimately what we like to see. And so fifth grade is new. That's a new piece that Ms. Nichols brought. So if we start at elementary and start training about all the pathways, Allen County, WSU Tech, all of the tech opportunities, and then in middle school, piggyback on that. College prep is placed there. That's where I taught the first semester. And the leadership courses Zach talked about. But the idea of those pathways, Mrs. Nichols and I, we thought about bringing law enforcement and the CNAs who now are working at Stormont. But this gives another perspective that CTE and the industry credentials that can be gained, and Allen, the community colleges and the tech colleges feed every student, whether you're going into whether you're going into a CTE pathway directly or whether you're going to a four-year college. So we thank all of you. We are proud of you. Congratulations on your recent graduation. And thank you, Ms. Nichols, for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I would just say to each of you, continue to explore. And, I often share with young individuals, never stop becoming, because we don't know what that's going to be. We prepare ourselves for something that we're not even aware of that's around the corner, another opportunity. So never stop becoming and continue to explore.
Ray?
Thank you.
Ray?
Yes.
Just thought of, how did your academics prepare you for expanding into CTE programs? And where do you think that needs to start? I taught careers in junior high. So I'm interested, I have ideas about it, but I'd like to know, how did your academics prepare you? And how do you see academics integrating with the preparation for the CTE through high school?
Okay. So my academics personally prepared me because at the beginning of high school, you go in and you're a clam, you're stuck to your shell, and you want to get out, but you don't know what it's going to look like as soon as you get out. And so as my freshman and sophomore year proceeded on, more things came easier to me, and more things, I wanted to go into more things. And so then Dr. Anderson and Ms. Nichols had offered TCALC as a position. And I was like, well, what is that? And it had so much more to offer to my high school education, and also going into the real world, because, everyone says adulting is hard, and I can agree it is. And so having steps prepare you before you become a full-time adult is confidentially, connected, so it prepared me in ways that, I could never really fully comprehend and understand. But I know that after leaving TCALC and getting my certification and becoming this and that, I know that I'm prepared, more prepared than I was, 4 years ago, and which is all what we hope. But I'm even more prepared as an adult now to go in and conquer things. So that it prepared me more of the real life way. And then on the academic side, it's prepared me that not every question has an answer, and not every riddle needs to be solved. So that's how it's prepared me.
In addition to that project base, are there particular courses that we should be offering at middle and high that you feel like any other voices into the space? Corey, I could listen to you all.
Thank you.
But any particular courses when you're thinking about all the pathways that really for middle and high should either be experienced or offered to be successful in the TCAL type setting or any CTE setting?
I definitely think, and I was kind of listening to what Ja'Cory was saying, kind of like thinking, how can I piggyback off of this? But kind of what you guys were saying is there are career courses, there are certain math classes or field trips or whatever it may be. I know for me, when I was taking like photography or graphic design in middle school, and then taking a little bit of a higher level class in high school. And then once I got to my sophomore and junior year and TCOC was offered to me, I had already kind of piqued an interest in those fields because of the classes that I was taking. For example, we have a huge culinary pathway at TCOC. They have a whole industrial kitchen that's in a separate building. And so, if I decided in middle school, because you have to take culinary classes in middle school and you have to take one going into your freshman year. So if I was taking those classes and then my sophomore and junior year comes and then I find out about the culinary pathway and I'm like, I love to cook or I like to clean or whatever the case may be. But then it kind of opens up that pathway and opens up that door for you to be interested and then to go in and actually receive that career technical education based on just, one class that you may have been taking as your interest, if that makes sense. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I know for us, one of the things that I didn't necessarily touch on was that we actually got to work with clients. So for me, we work with the Topeka Public Library. And so I think going from, I liked doing photography in middle school, and then coming to high school, taking some graphic design classes, and then being able to go from that and go into a pathway where you're actually going to work with clients, you're going to have a back and forth. And we did their whole campaign for their summer reading program. So I think that build up from when you're younger, you build an interest, you take a couple classes, and then it really does open up that career opportunity for you.
Thank you, Jordan. So CTE at the middle school is important, and then having jobs that you can experience. Thank you.
Sorry, if I could add something else, just adding to continue with the previous point of how do we prepare both junior and senior high students for CTE and just education outside of high school. I think something that's really important that I just wanted to make sure was touched on was making sure we always set the bar higher. A big part of the philosophy of college prep that I was always told was if we set the bar higher, students will meet that. We can't say that, well, they're an eighth grader, they can only do this. We can say, well, why can't they do a little bit harder? Why can't they do a little bit more? I know I had a lot of conversations with my AP government teacher as I've gotten closer to graduation about his philosophy with teaching, because I found that he's been very inspirational to me as another social studies educator. And he has said with his freshman classes, I sat in and just kind of watched how he taught them at one point since I had a free hour. And I talked to him about he has them write full essays with introductions, 3 body paragraphs, a counter argument, and a conclusion. And he says there's some people who say, well, no, you can't have freshmen do that. They can't do that. And he says, well, no, if I set the bar higher, they'll meet that. And those are the skills that you need for college. Those are the skills that make it so that you walk into college and feel prepared for what they are going to teach you. But if we keep the bar low and students just do what a high schooler should do, they're not going to know what they should do once they reach college, if that makes sense. Thank you.
I would just add one thing about. I know, I'm going. The idea of a career class as opposed to careers being introduced in everything we do, right? From Algebra 1 to teaching and training. And I think in Topeka Public Schools, we're trying to move in that direction where even in 6th grade math, we're talking about, are you ever going to solve for X again when you're 7? Probably not. But you may gain some problem solving skills that you may use in a different So I think when we think about CTE in our district-wide, that would be the direction that we're trying to move in. And I think the state too. Yeah, that's the goal. So, yeah. Okay, we'll get out of here now. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. We love the passion. And that adult thing, I'm still working on it, so don't rush it. All right. We're going to hear from Elaine, Vice President Elaine Frisbee. Next, fiscal year 2026 state appropriations for community and tech colleges.
Chairman,
Welcome.
you put me in a terrible position having to follow all that. Thank you so much. Authority members, we are back on page 43 of this agenda for the month of May. I'm here just to basically to first provide you some information on the appropriations the legislature provided to our agency on behalf of the community and technical colleges. And so I'm not going to be seeking your action on this particular item. This is for your information only. Each of the appropriations that have tables here for you, starting with the tiered technical education state aid distribution, each of the provisos, there is language in the appropriation bill that we, as the administrator of the state monies, must follow. And each of those proviso then designates how much of the funding that's appropriated to us goes to each college. And back in, I'm going to estimate it was in January, we talked about the cost model calculations and the amounts you see for tiered and non-tiered courses starting on page 43 are the 3-year average for the state's calculated costs according to the instructional cost model for each of the colleges. So you'll see variations year to year from what was received for fiscal year 2025 compared to 2026. In some cases up, in some cases down, and that is according to the college's actual AY enrollments that were reported to us. So this, I think, is the 3rd year, maybe that's the 4th year now, of the actual full implementation of the cost model. So something to be celebrated there. And we did get full funding for the cost model. On page 45, in years past, we had multiple appropriations for CTE capital outlay. That has now been completely consolidated into one appropriation of $12.4 million for capital outlay aid. This does require a 1-for-1 match from the institution, and the amounts are specified in the bill, and you see those there in the table. And so we don't have to juggle 3 different accounts in our chart of accounts and different match requirements that we've had to wrestle with in the past. So those amounts are also designated. You'll see on page 46 then, the legislature gave a 3rd year of funding for the operating grants to the technical colleges. In the first 2 years, this was a $10.5 million appropriation for fiscal year 2026 that was reduced by $3.5 million to $7 million. The proviso does specify that each college is to receive $1 million, so you see that there. Fiscal year 2026 is the first year of 6 years of the Campus Restoration Act. This was a bill passed by the 2024 legislature. Starting in fiscal year 2026, the bulk of the funding that we receive is for the state universities as state agencies, but each of the coordinated institutions, which includes Washburn University, was slated to receive $100,000 apiece. $100,000 doesn't go very far on a capital improvement project for a campus, but it is a contribution toward things that they need to do with their own facilities. Unfortunately, the 25 legislature reduced the amount of funding that we were slated to receive and told us to then prorate everybody down. So we've prorated the state universities amounts down by 7.65%. And so for the 2-year colleges, you'll see the amounts of $92,350 apiece rather than the originally planned $100,000. And then lastly, you'll see 2 tables starting at the top of page 48 and the bottom of the top of page 49 that explain the business and industry and apprenticeship distributions. We received the same amount also for student success, which is a lesser amount in 26. The legislature adopted additional proviso language related only to the 19 community colleges that will require each of the colleges to certify to us the amount of cash on hand they have available from fiscal year 2025 in order to be eligible for 2026 funding, just in these two categories. There was some concern announced, professed by some legislators that some of our community colleges have too much cash on hand. And so this proviso was applied. And we've gone through the work to develop a certification form for the 19 colleges. And I'm going to talk this afternoon with the CFOs for the community colleges about that process. Our goal is to have them give us preliminary certifications in July for the prior fiscal year, for the year that we're just about to end. And then we would be before you at your September meeting to award those schools that are eligible for the funding, for their funding. So they will still get their state aid if they're eligible within the first quarter of the year. We don't want to push this off to wait till the audit comes in the winter and spring. Then when we get the actual audits, then we can go back and re-verify eligibility. So there's an additional amount of paperwork we're going to have to do for the 19 community colleges. That is why you only see the amount specified here for the technical colleges. They did not have a similar proviso attached. I also want to highlight, we're going to talk a little bit more about budget later this morning, but I wanted to highlight the top of page 49. The 2025 legislature did not appropriate state funding to us for 2026. Or either the Community and Technical College competitive grants, has been a $500,000 program we administer with Department of Commerce. It did not appropriate the $180,000 for technical innovation and internships, where college faculty can go out in the field and improve their skills. And nor did it give us anything for the two-year colleges or the state universities either, or the Washburn University for cybersecurity and IT improvements. They took a pause on that. So that was a lot of ground to cover, Mr. Chairman. I hope that was helpful. If anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to try to answer.
Any questions or comments in response to this report? Anything surprise you? Concern you? Well, there were a few surprises, in my opinion. You know, at times it's hard to understand and also certainly, predict what the legislators are going to do. But those items at the end, I must say, were a surprise to me, especially the cybersecurity part. That became such a big concern to everyone, and to see that now redlined was disappointing in many ways. Yes.
Whatever the issues we're all facing with cybersecurity, infrastructure, info technology. Is that not on? Yeah, anyway, if I were encouraging in any way legislation or even effort, if we don't get a handle on protecting and better using technology and protecting cybersecurity, that one is the one that I thought was a real loss, a huge loss. Several of these were losses, but those, instead of going full throttle trying to address the needs in the state, we're taking money away from that. In fact, I think we need full throttle on information technology, infrastructure, cybersecurity at all levels in higher ed, and even starting into, we need to be training students and training people to address the threats. And then we don't get all this inroads into paychecks, identity theft, the whole systems that we pay, that are being paid millions of dollars to protect. Let's figure out how we educate our way out of the mess, I thought.
Unfortunately, we find ourselves often just waiting for something to happen before we react or act. All right, any other questions, comments?
Chair Frederick, if I may, I'm getting feedback from the field that they are having a lot of difficulty hearing us on Zoom. So I just wanted to bring that up. I'm not sure if we can do something different, but we all need to, unfortunately, I think we're gonna need to lean in a little bit more.
I'll lay down on the table. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I will just mention, so here at the board office, in our boardroom, we are having challenges with our older equipment. Our audio equipment is aging out, and we are looking to see what we're going to have to do to upgrade, unfortunately.
Don't ask the
Can't resource.
All right. Now, if someone brings me a third microphone, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. All right, Elena, if you'll continue.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 49, I do have some glimmer of good news here. If you'll recall, all the way back to September of 2024, you approved distributions of amounts for Excel and CTE, what we commonly refer to as SB 155, for the current year. So this is looking at the current year, fiscal year 2025. At the time, enrollments in the prior year exceeded the amount of funds that we had available. And the 2025 legislature, one thing they did do was give us $359,000 to remedy that shortfall. So I am looking for action by the Tech Ed Authority this morning to approve those amounts for the colleges so that we can reimburse them for their prior year enrollments.
Do we have a second? Okay. Any questions?
Just like to make a comment to Elena and staff for going after that supplemental. 20 years ago, I was practicing credit hour. Legislator to get an appropriation. So I'm glad to see that happening. Legislature.
Thank you for that. I do want to point out, we do have several other statutes that we are supposed to adhere to, and according to adhering to those involves additional funding that we did not receive. And they're nominal, I'd say nominal amounts. Sometimes maybe $1,000 here and $1,000 there for a college, but yet they did not quite fund those for us. So more work to be done.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Does anyone oppose? If not, motion carried. Thank you, Elaine. Okay, we're going to call on Director Sherman Chambers, provide us update on the results from the Excel and CTE Feed Task Force.
Thank you, Chair Frederick. Good morning, everyone. Staying on the topic of Excel and CTE, this is concerning the fees specifically. So in January, the authority requested that the Budget Finance Committee establish a task group to take a look at Excel and CTE fee reporting processes and identify opportunities for fee reduction. We created a task group that included the Budget and Finance Committee themselves, and then we were joined by Nancy Thompson, CFO at Flint Hills, Carla Armstrong, CFO at Garden City, and then Marlon Thornburg, President of Coffeyville, and Greg Nichols, President of Salina Area Tech. So you have some recommendations here. In an effort to clarify the data that gets submitted, the task group determined that the following parameters will be what we will be submitting and the TEA will be reviewing moving forward. And staff will also make these updates in the guidance and include that in the webinar that we have this fall. We always do that as we prepare for the collection. So we will no longer report any optional fees. We will be reporting only those that are required. We will be reporting all fees, not discounted fees, no matter how it's paid. They're going to report the fee. They will likely be explaining discounts in a narrative, and we've given some examples of what those things might kind of include in the blue font at the bottom of page 52. We've also recommended that institutions provide a cost or fee list per course or program, however their fees are calculated, to provide transparency to students and parents, of course. And we will also work further to disseminate information when the next round of Perkins Grant funding becomes available to help purchase classroom support such as tools, books, and so forth. We certainly can take a formal action if we would like, but if the TEA feels that these recommendations make sense, we could certainly move forward with that. And I would also defer to Chair Sneeden and Vice Chair Rice on any other recommendations that they'd like to make.
I'm not sure I have any recommendations, but I just want to thank the institutions that were involved. Had really good input and some ideas. And I think made us aware of the misconceptions of what the rules were. So hopefully, I guess we'll see next January the fees for the next year. But I think we'll be more consistent and more people on the same page. And hopefully that'll help when we come to approval.
Precisely. David. Thank you.
Right, I'd say move ahead. Okay, my pleasure to introduce Belinda Scarborough Kennedy from IBM.
Thank you, everyone, for having me today. I'm Belinda Scarborough Kennedy, and I'm responsible for our IBM artificial intelligence programs for higher education across the U.S., as well as I work with our schools across all of the United States as we talk about the free resources that's available in the IBM Skills Build program. So I'm going to talk about two very specific items today. One, our IBM Skills Build program, and the second item is going to be the IBM All Freshman Initiative. I am on page 53 in the agenda. I'm also putting in the chat the URL that takes you to the website that I'm about to show you with the program details. Feel free to stop me at any point in time and ask me a question. I'm going to share my screen. So as we go through our conversation, you can see the resources versus me taking you through a PowerPoint. So I'm going to ask, does everybody in the room see on my screen a young lady in a yellow shirt?
Yes.
And to the left of her, you see where it says for free. The first thing I want to highlight is this program is how IBM provides access to IBM resources for teaching, learning, and non-commercial research, with the stipulation the resources have to be used for the teaching, learning, and non-commercial resources. We stipulate that because some of these resources are the same ones we sell to our clients for millions of dollars. So we have to stipulate that usage criteria. So it's really clear on how we're giving away some of these resources to organizations versus charging others. So that's why I want to highlight on this page. I'm also going to add a couple points just based on understanding several items that came up earlier in your meeting. I'm going to spend my time today talking about the college students and college faculty. But on my screen now at the top, you see where we also have resources that you can use with high school students around cybersecurity and AI, and similar resources for adult learners. Keep it in mind, these resources are at no charge as long as they're used for teaching, learning, and non-commercial research. Everyone at the organizations that are accredited higher education institutions have access to these resources as long as they use their institution issued email ID as a college student, and for college faculty, and then for high school students and adult learners, they can use a Gmail ID. As we go through the discussion today, I want to first start with on the main page. When I scroll to the bottom, this is not a one-time type engagement that IBM has. On the main page, you can see we're doing this because of commitments to train 30 million people by 2030, as well as to train 2 million people around artificial intelligence in 3 years. We're doing this because when you look at data like the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs, it shows very clearly some of the most high demand areas, like we talked about earlier. Cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and data science are the ones that are growing at an exponential rate. You don't have to do it by yourself because on this same page, you're able to see community events. So if you look on this page, you can see we have everything from webinars to guided learning experiences to a monthly tech talk with students and a monthly sharing of best practices with faculty and higher education leadership and staff. Highlighting this because my team and I have been running that tech talk for 5 years. We've been running the sharing of best practices for 4 years. So the goal of today is, one, to make all of our higher education amazing staff and leaders and the students who came on or going to higher education, they're going to have an amazing time in Kansas with all the resources I've heard you talk about today. One of the ways that we want to make sure they understand the importance of what they're learning in the classroom is by joining us for the tech talk that we have every month. That tech talk started out as 30 minutes. I let the students vote, and they voted to make it an hour. Now we have the session that goes for 45 minutes, and then we have a tech talk after party that goes another 45 minutes. We speak about some new free resource. We have an IBM recruiter talks about what's going on from a recruiting perspective. Then we have some speaker, could be an IBMer talking about AI from Turkey, or it could be the member from the U.S. Department of Energy, or it could be Nick from the CIA, and you only get the first name because he is from the CIA. I share this with you because the students who spoke earlier, they demonstrate what students are looking for. And the gentleman who talked about how do we make sure the students are prepared and they will deliver up to the bar we set is critical. Because our students are not just competing with the person beside them in the classroom. They're competing against a global audience when we talk about what's going on in the job market today. When you look at this page, I want you to take advantage of when someone asks, where can we possibly get some resources that we're missing now? I encourage you to come and take a look at this site. I'm going to go under the educator category and show you some of the most needed resources that you're probably hearing about, but not aware that you have access to them today through the IBM Skills Build website. For our college educators, we have content that ranges from courseware in the areas you see on my screen and more, access to leveraging our cloud along with IBM software, with the stipulations we talked about earlier, and there's a ton more that I'm not going to bring up because there's thousands of pieces of our software that's part of this program. But the one thing I really want to highlight, because I see schools frequently spending significant amounts of money to bring in industry speakers, you have the capability to leverage IBM speakers across the globe through our guest lectures program. We have 73 lectures out there available to pick and choose from. You can see the curriculum, the criteria on the left side, highlighting how you might want to incorporate this into your curriculum. So as I said, we have speakers from across the globe. So you can see that Alex happens to be in France, and his particular lecture has already been requested 9 times this year. This is not just technical topics. These are topics that talk about everything from ethics around AI to business process management. When we look at this, I want to highlight this as one of the primary areas institutions across the globe leverage the IBM Skills Build program. And yes, while my team and I cover the US, IBM offers this program in the 175 countries in which we operate. I want to highlight it today because lack of knowledge is one of the fundamental reasons it's not leveraged. I heard a great conversation earlier talking about the students. I am fortunate to come from a very small town. Now, as we talked about the Kansas population, and I've visited and been on campus for many of the schools, most are surprised to hear. Now, as a 38-year IBMer, I came from a high school with 34 students in my graduating class, no computers in my home nor in my school. However, I chose to major in applied mathematics and computer science when I went on an academic scholarship to university. I highlight that because I really want to make sure that we take advantage of helping students understand potential career options they're not even considering today. I'm going to skip forward and highlight those options or things I like to talk to students about on that Tech Talk, and have speakers talk on that Tech Talk about the U.S. Department of Labor report and the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report. really giving students some insight into areas they might not be aware exist today. So everything I've talked about is available to your higher education, faculty, staff, and students right now. I want to go into a specific area under our college students and talk about a course I'm going to highlight today. On this screen where I'm looking at courses that we have built for faculty and students in higher education, you're going to see that in the last 2 months, we added 12 new sticker courses all around artificial intelligence. It is dominating the discussions in pretty much every industry. Best example I can give you, last checkup with my doctor in the last 6 weeks, she used speech to text to capture my comments as we were going through a standard checkup. She's an amazing physician. However, even she cannot keep up with all the clinical trials and medical journals on a global scale. Using artificial intelligence with her amazing skill, like she started using the speech to text application, is one way she's able to really help me as a person who travels across the globe come up with the best ways for whatever I walk into her office with and have the element of the day that she's going to help me address. When you look down this list, you'll see it's 60 to 90 minutes for these first 12 courses. So 60 to 90-minute courses that can easily be integrated into the conversations that faculty are now having with students and giving them as assignments for them to understand what artificial intelligence is and what it isn't. Speaking of what artificial intelligence is and what it isn't, everything I've talked to you about up to this point, you have available, and you will not have to have another conversation with me and just use the link that's in the agenda that was sent out for today. Now I'm going to talk about a follow-on program. IBM has been providing resources to higher education and engage with higher education since we did our first PhD fellowship program in the early 1950s. So this is not a program that we just came up with in the last couple of years and not even in the last couple of decades. This is a program that we've been doing because our clients cannot implement our solutions if there's not a workforce that they're able to hire to deliver the results to their business, that we can show them the roadmap to get there. We can provide them the technology to get there, but they need your students for the ongoing execution. To get this number of students that are needed in the US at scale, we have an AI All Freshman Initiative program. It is based on the IBM Getting Started with Artificial Intelligence course you're looking at right now on my screen. This is a 3-hour course, not a 3-credit hour, a 3 linear hour course. So less time than it takes to watch the latest Mission Impossible movie. Your students can take this course, get an IBM badge credential, be available then to apply to get IBM mentors so they can start building their professional network of contacts as a freshman on your campuses. And they also have the ability to apply for paid micro internships. I thank the gentleman who referenced that earlier. This program has paid micro internship projects based on this 3-hour course that you're looking at on my screen. This course is delivered where the students can take it over their phone, over their tablet, or over their laptop. They can do it intermittently, so they can take a short amount of time, 40 minutes, and come back later, pick it back up, and do another 20 minutes and pick it up later and complete the course. The course is maintained by our IBM team of experts. The course is also done in a way where it captures videos, it captures fundamental questions around, are you understanding the content? And it goes to the next level of really being able to demonstrate students indeed understand what artificial intelligence is and what it is not. I'm going to wrap up by saying the requirement for the IBM AI All Freshman Initiative requires the president or provost at that institution to commit that all freshmen will do it. It requires that commitment because the value is that we you and I and our leaders can have the conversation with government and other businesses and say, all of our freshmen have achieved an artificial intelligence badge credential from IBM. So that means in 4 years, we're able to say that every student on your campus has received an IBM industry credential around artificial intelligence. And all it takes is 3 hours of their time. So a homework assignment is all that's needed. I want to wrap up by giving an idea because we talked about the paid micro internships. When we talk about the paid micro internships, that comes out of my budget. Here's an example of some of the companies that these paid micro internships come from. Students apply, they're typically done remotely. And once the student applies, you can see here, we're talking about volumes of students. So Northrop Grumman is looking for 10 students. When we look down the list, you can see Tri-Custom is looking for 8 students. SHRM is 25 students. So this is part of the 800 paid micro internships that I'm working with the 30 institutions that I'm bringing onto the program. I had 15 last year, and I'm at another 15 this year. I look forward to any questions you might have for me as I stop sharing and turn it back to our host.
Okay, thank you so much for this information and an introduction into Skills Build and what IBM is doing. And you mentioned free, is that right?
I did mention free, and that was why I really wanted you to see the young lady in the yellow shirt, because to the left of her was in print. When you go to the program and share it with anyone else, it shows it's free there. And our stipulation is teaching, learning, and non-commercial research. So it cannot be used to help the institution run the administration of the school. We can do that with another team in IBM. It cannot be used for a student to build a solution that they start driving revenues out of their garage or an incubator, but it can be used for your students to get all this and your faculty to get all this for free. Yes, I mentioned free. And having sold many of our services across most of our platforms in IBM, this is one of the few places you're going to see this is indeed a free capability, but it's all around education and learning and non-commercial research.
Very good. Any questions or comments from Ms. Kennedy?
I don't have a question, but I do have some comments. Belinda and I have met and spoke about this, and I'm going to challenge my staff to take this course this summer. As many of you know, or maybe you don't know, we interface with AI every day and we don't realize it. Facial recognition on your phone, Alexa, Siri, we're interfacing with it all the time. So we need to understand it. The other thing that I would like for the colleges to see is we've talked about AI, mentioned it a lot. Here is a free opportunity for you, your student, to gain this knowledge. Your employees, how can we use it to make ourselves better? So challenge you guys to think about, can we use it in some way, one assignment in a course? Somebody could receive an AI badge, they could receive an internship for 3 hours of their time. So it's something important, it's coming, it's here. So we need to get on board, but my staff will be taking it this summer.
Thank you for that. And I offer to everyone on this call, as someone who went to college for something because she wanted to make sure she could provide food, shelter, and clothing for herself. When you look at this 3-hour course, you have students who are coming to your campus as freshmen, not sure of what they want to do. This is a great way to introduce them to possibilities they probably are not considering. Secondly, you have students who've decided adamantly what their major is going to be. They need to understand how that industry area of expertise is already using AI. And thirdly, think about the parents. When your freshman comes back home, talks about getting an industry badge, doing a project with a recognized name brand institution, and getting paid for it. These paid micro internships that are based on that 3-hour course, it's done remotely, it's 10 hours of work, and the student gets paid $250. So instead of the student asking you whenever they're going to use some of the content in the class, they can return to the class and tell other students how they've already taken an industry course as part of your class, gotten an industry badge, and gotten paid for it. So think about when your student who's a freshman returns home for Thanksgiving dinner, and instead of them going through concerns, they're sharing the experience they had working for some of those companies and other companies like those as a freshman who hasn't even completed their first semester on your campus. So that is an amazing picture that when parents hear it, usually that is exactly why they're sending their child and entrusting them to us in higher education. So I look forward to working with each of the schools represented here. We will cut it off. I was going to do 15. I'll probably do 25 this year, but I do have a budget of hundreds of these paid micro internships. And I want to make sure every school that engages does have a clear roadmap on how we have every freshman do this, but also have the opportunities necessary for us to be successful with the program across the board. The course, the mentoring, and the paid micro internship.
Well, thank you for the introduction to Skills Build, and we appreciate the opportunity to have you with us today. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, next we're going to call on Director Hector Martinez, provide us with an update on adult education. So
Thank you. Well, let's move from AI to AE. What about that? Huh? Well, good morning, Chair Frederick and board members. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on Kansas adult education and share why now it is the time to elevate, expand, and invest in adult education system. And as we still sitting down and waiting for the allocations to come down from the feds, I would like to share that over the past month, I have had the opportunity to meet with the leaders of every adult education sponsor institution across the state. These discussions were not just then the administrative talkings. They were a window into a real challenge Kansans are facing and the transformational impact adult education programs are having in their communities. Let's start with some data. As May 15, Kansas adult education has enrolled over 7,300 learners, and that is a 6.5% increase in over last year. And this is showing some of the data on the number of enrollees that we have since 2013. This shows a strong and growing demand. More importantly, our learners are not just enrolling, they are succeeding. Kansas has already reached a 56.8% of measurable skills gain rate, significantly higher than the national average of 46%. That tells us that our programs are working, and they're working better than most of the country. But behind those numbers are stories. Young adults returning to education after dropping out, working parents training for new careers. In fact, 84% of our adult GED passers these years are under age of 30. These are not people who are giving up. They are people who are stepping up, and our adult education system is helping them to do it. Now, here's the challenge, Chair Frederick. Over 250,000 Kansans still lack of high school diploma or basic education needs in our state and to participate in the workforce. That's 250,000 adults who are being left behind, just as our economy is evolving faster than ever, especially in high demand sectors. And I like to point healthcare and information technology, as we've been hearing. This is where integrated educational training comes in. And integrated educational training allows learners gain foundational academic skills like literacy, math, digital fluency, while at the same time earning credentials for in-demand jobs. This is not theory. It is working now in Kansas, but we need to scale this up. And that's why I would like to request additional $1.5 million invested in the adult education and support the expansion of the integrated educational training programs across the 18 adult education providers and with more than 50 locations in the state. And this is just enough to support a 0.5 FTE aligned with instruction, career navigation, and coordination with technical education partners. This investment will go directly towards creating bridges between adult education and the workforce training, particularly, once again, in healthcare and technology, because we know that there's jobs opening continuously in our state, and we need those skilled workers now. Adult education is a workforce development. It is an economic development, and it is a community development. It connects the unemployed to employment. It moves people from public assistance to self-sufficiency, and it gives young adults a reason to re-engage and build a future right here in Kansas. And I would like to be clear on this. Adult education is not a remedial event or system. It is a transformational. It is the front door for opportunities for thousands of Kansas who have been potential, but not and need the next step. And Kansas is leading the nation nationally in this work. We always perform in the fight in the nation, the high quartile. And we appreciate your partnership and support. And now it is time to go further. To build the workforce in Kansas need, we must invest in learners and programs that are building the future here in Kansas. Thank you, and I will stand for any questions.
Any questions, comments? Hector, thank you for the reminder that, we look at figures, numbers, data, that you reminded us these are real people and their lives that are transformed, like you say, because of the efforts of adult education. So, thank you. Okay, we're gonna call Charmin back up, provide us with information on the academic year 26, SB 123 credential list.
Thank you, Chair Frederick. Yes, this is an action item for the authority. The Career Technical Education Credential and Transition Incentive for Employment Success Act dates back to 2023. And in a nutshell, it's directing high schools to pay for specifically identified career technical education industry recognized certifications when the students request that. We've provided there on page 55 some of the language from the statute. The requirement is that annually a new list is created and approved by the State Board of Education and the Board of Regents. We do this in consultation with the Secretary of Labor and the Secretary of Commerce. And these industry certifications that would be eligible should a student make the request would be those that are specifically industry sought credentials, and they are either repeatedly referenced in job postings and or frequently referred to by employers in communications with school districts as credentials that are in demand. And again, these are the industry recognized certifications specifically. As we work through that each year, we did this at the end of March. We polled our community and technical colleges, and Member Clark polled the USDs as well. We did not make any changes to the list based on that review, but we do have two certifications that were recommended in the updates for the Excel and CTE qualifying credentials, and those would also be suggested here to be included. Those are the heavy operating engineers and other construction equipment operators. And this is an industry recognized certification of NCCER Heavy Equipment Operations Level 1. And then in the water and wastewater treatment plant and systems operators programs, the industry certification of water and wastewater operations certification small system class 1. These are part of programs that are CTE programs. These are certifications that are occupationally specific. So this doesn't include OSHA, CPR, things like that. And they would also be recognized as certifications that would be included in the WIOA measurable skill gains when we report those. So when you look at that list, essentially this is the Excel and CTE qualifying credential list plus medication aid due to the industry demand. We have, and I will also defer to Member Clark if she would like to make some comments, but in the years that we've been working on this, we've sort of deferred to that Excel and CTE qualifying credential list as a starting point for these. And because we also have a very well-defined parameter criteria set for those occupations and those certifications. And because there is not appropriated funding for the high schools to be able to tap into, should their students request that they pay for these, we do want to make sure that we are, to everyone's point, we're setting that bar high for what those USDs would have to pay. And Member Clark, I would invite you if you would like to make any comments. No? This does require action, and then we would bring it also forward to the Board of Regents in their next meeting.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve these?
Second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, we're going to call back Vice President Frisbee. Discuss the fiscal year 2027 TEA budget request. We got to think forward, I guess.
Thank you. We are here poised at the very end of fiscal year 2025. We already have to come to a point where we're thinking ahead to fiscal year 2027. Thank you, Crystal, for putting that up for me. This will be perhaps challenging to see from your spots, but wanted to make a point here about the future projections legislative staff are providing to legislators about how might the budget look a few years out. And this is the budget and the revenue outlook for the State General Fund, which is the large fund from which we draw most of our state appropriations from. And this reflects the most recent April consensus revenue estimate, where they did increase projected revenues for fiscal year 25 and 26 by $378 million from the prior November 24 revenue estimate. A few things here I want to highlight. You'll see where revenues above or below expenditures. In red, you will see where the State General Fund is spending more than it's taking in that year, and you will see a lot of red numbers in that row. So the state would, if everything turned out exactly as you saw here, which will never happen, the State General Fund would become underwater at some point along the way. Another important thing to keep in mind, a most recent development for the state of Kansas, the overall budget picture, is that we have a budget stabilization fund, which we, for most of our statehood, did not have. This is a recent phenomenon. We typically previously had relied upon an ending balance of just unspent cash. And that what that meant was when a recession hit, fiscal year 2009, if any of you were around at that time, this Governor Parkinson at the time had to institute 3 allotment cycles on state agencies in that 1 year, just trying to keep up with the free falling tax revenues that the State General Fund was experiencing. So there is a cushion against those future years ending balance, but this is the picture from which the legislature will be developing its 2027 budget. So I just wanted to give you, as authority members, that context for what we're looking at. So my task before you today is to help you think about, and a couple of folks have brought up different things, different subjects, and we talked a little bit about the different funding lines. On page 60 of your authority agenda is a trend table. We talked about this in our Budget and Finance Committee meeting a few weeks ago, looking back across 10 years. the State General Fund and Economic Development Initiatives Fund, the appropriations for the state that we receive on behalf of the two-year colleges, such as for non-tiered and tiered courses, the nursing initiative, capped outlay, all the different categories, of course, SB 155, Excel and CTE. Those amounts are arrayed out there according to those years. This is not exactly what was spent, but it was what was appropriated to us. And just to give you a sense then for how the funding has improved, the outlook has improved for our funding for two-year colleges, particularly those first two lines or three lines, the three primary sources, the non-tiered credit hour state aid, the tier technical state aid. For many years, those funding lines languished at flat amounts, and either they were reduced or held flat. And only recently in the past few years have they been increased to a level to fully fund the instructional cost model costs. Of course, we've had great success in SB 155 courses, and you can see the amounts arrayed there for what we've received from the state. So that is in that context then that wanted to highlight some things. A year ago, back on page 59, in the middle of that page, are the items that the board made a request for fiscal year 2026. And there was a lot of success there. The tiered and non-tiered, Excel and CTE, capped outlay, those items were funded, did not receive the cybersecurity funding at $10 million, did receive the $14.3 million for apprenticeships and business partnerships, did not receive the $1 million request for adult education. A year ago, we did get a $100,000 increase in that line item to help us make sure we're meeting our maintenance of effort requirements, but we did not get the $1 million expansion. For fiscal year 2026, did not receive state funding either in our budget or in the Department of Commerce for the micro internship expansion that had been hoped for. Of course, the $10.5 million took a haircut down to the $7 million for the tech colleges operating grants. And then we had hoped that the state would restart that statutory program, the GED Accelerator, to help those folks who are in trying to get their GED or high school equivalency to also take technical courses at the two-year colleges. Did not receive funding for that. So all that to say, looking from the TEA for your ideas. This is that time of year where the board office is trying to draw in all the ideas from the universities, which includes Washburn, of course, the technical colleges, the community colleges, as well as the Post-Secondary Technical Education Authority.
Okay, is this item time sensitive?
It is only to the extent, Mr. Chairman, that the board would get a preview of this at their meeting on June 11th.
Why are you smiling?
And I would, of course, want to qualify that anything provided to the board in June will be subject to change. Another piece of the puzzle of this process is the division of the budget will provide our office with our allocation from the State General Fund in early July. And it is from that point, that's our starting point. Of anything beyond that then becomes in their world what we call an enhancement. And that's generally what we think of as additional funds beyond our base budget that we are allowed to ask for. So it's either on our base, perhaps they'll continue to think of the capped outlay state aid, that $12.4 million, they'll consider that part of our base budget and we don't have to ask for it again. So it's yet to be determined what will be in our base or what we have to ask for as an enhancement. So there's this qualification I have to provide to clarify that anything above a line may be subject to change just because of what the division of budget does for us or does not do.
Okay. Comments? Seems like it's coming to us in a hurry. But maybe that's just the nature of how we do.
The budget cycle, you might think of it as a circle. I think of it more as a never-ending spiral.
Yeah.
So you're just always spiraling. There's never quite a conclusion to the budget process, I'm afraid.
So from a staff perspective, knowing that we probably are not going to see an increase in funding based on the previous information that was provided, I think staff recommendation to this board would be to fully fund tiered, non-tiered, and Excel and CTE. I think those are right away things that we would offer up as priorities. And then I would defer to community and tech colleges on what else would they like to see.
Our two sectors have been asked to submit before the Regents meeting our requests from each of our sectors. So that will be coming in, and it's similar to what you've said, plus try to restore the cuts.
Thank you, Vice President White. I would just echo that. Our main priorities would be essentially fully funding Excel and CTE, the tiered, non-tiered funding formula. As far as that restoration of cuts, if at all possible, we would love to see the possibility of receiving those student success funds back at the fiscal year 25 mark. We have actually had the opportunity to work with Vice President White and Director Chambers to identify some different efficiencies in the Excel and CTE formula. We do believe that our legislative request will come in less than what it was for fiscal year 26. So going through and looking at that, we would like that to be taken into consideration because we do have a duty of care to be good stewards to this. We are extremely cognizant of the fact that the fiscal budget is going to be tighter, but we do believe we are working on a comprehensive ask that will be very manageable. And especially with the increases that we're seeing in enrollment, the different things, they're very justifiable as well. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, TA members? Thought I heard Hector ask for 1.5 million.
Ray, just kind of thinking through everything, and Elaine, thanks for showing the slide up there. I think that all state agencies or state entities are going to be facing that same thing. I'm kind of at the mindset, and this is me speaking for myself, hold on to what you have before you ask for more. Because there's going to be cuts, in my opinion.
Thank you. And remember, being in response to that, we are not requesting any additional enhancements at all. So I just want to be very upfront with you, sir, from our initial conversations. That is not what we're doing. We're trying to be, again, very fiscally conservative in our approach.
And Elaine, do we need final vote from the TE before?
Oh, I can certainly. So the full information will be provided to the board at the July budget workshop. So that'll be at the very end of July. And I don't anticipate a TEA meeting to take formal action prior to that. So one option would be, based on your discussion today, we could provide some tentative information that this is the general thought of the authority, what you would prefer to prioritize. We're always asked if you've got more than one thing, which is the highest priority. So if fully funding the formula for those three major state aid line items would be the top priority, then we can certainly convey that.
That would be open for your discussion. So is that our priority? I would think for the colleges, that is your if we had to name one, fully fund those three it's all based off the funding model. So yes, it's 3 line items, but it is, yes.
Vice President White, the community colleges would concur.
Okay.
Yes, but we would also say, for capital outlay, since we don't have local taxing authority at the tech colleges, that is quite critical for us. And base operating grant did become statutory this year, so hopefully some funding goes in.
I would agree that the formula would be the main thing. I think I heard Seth mention FY25, where we didn't lose those things that we talked about a little while ago. That's any possibility, but if everybody's going to be taking cuts, those probably aren't. But funding the formula has got to be the main thing, I think.
Thank you. Yes, it would be fully funding this year would be our top priority. Same thing that we'd receive this year for fiscal year 25.
And what we could do is, I mean, if that's a good enough recommendation right now, we can proceed with that. And then once the 2-year sector really finalizes theirs before the board meeting, we can always try to get a meeting set to discuss just this and have a very final recommendation prior to the board retreat. If
So what are we saying? We're looking at the fiscal year 2025? To keep or to go, or the approved?
Well, the numbers with tiered, non-tiered will always change. So our statement would be to fully fund those. It's going to go up and down depending on enrollment. So putting a number, we don't want to do that. We just want
Right.
to say fully fund.
Fully fund, but then what about the rest of these? And then what about the adult ed?
I think, Mike, was your recommendation to hold on? I mean, would that be a loose recommendation right now? It'd be just please don't cut us.
So that would not include the 1.5 for adult ed.
It would not right now unless that is something you guys would like to do.
And I'm not insinuating that adult ed isn't a priority of mine. I'm just saying if you had to make a move to keep what you had in the basket, that would be a strategy for me.
If I'm understanding correctly, what you just shared, this is really preliminary. So we're just saying here's a priority, but we're coming, that's correct, right? And then we're coming back and saying, you know, as we gain more information, we want to add this, or add that, as we've heard from the community colleges. So it's preliminary.
I think that's best. Once we get a final from the community college and technical college, we can call a meeting in July, probably mid-July. And that will be prior to the July, was it 28th through 30th board retreat? Have a final vote.
It is always helpful when the colleges and the TEA are working in concert, so that is an advantage.
I would agree that we definitely need to talk more. And I would also say, I think the 1.5 million for adult ed is extremely important, as everything else here is. But if we are looking at it as keeping that basket or that amount that we have for fiscal year 26, and then we have some time to look at what is brought in to us from the other institutions. Frankly, we've got to take care of all those people in the workforce that need educated. If we don't figure out a workforce solution, we don't have the industry supported in the state, in my opinion. So I just think that's extremely important.
Okay, have you gotten some direction?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good.
I think-
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, April, our academic year 2025 meeting calendar.
Probably the easiest thing, the entire meeting. We have shown the calendar for next year, the proposed calendar for next year, I think the last 3 meetings, but when going back over the minutes, we did not officially vote. We did ask for any conflicts with the schedule and we have not received any. So at this time, this would be the calendar we need to vote on. And the meeting in September is highlighted in red, as that is not a firm date. It's going to depend on when our data collection is done, when we get the certification back from community colleges for those items that Elaine spoke about. So that'll be a tentative date.
I move approval of the calendar as presented.
Do we have a second? Any questions, comments? Anyone oppose? Motion carried. Okay, our next item, election of officers for AY 26. Let me just say I appreciated the time that I've had to serve as chairman. And, you know, I've more than once, when the regents asked about that fact that I was continuing to be chairman, my response was, well, the TEA said they were going to keep voting me chairman until I get it right. I don't know if I've gotten it right or they've just decided they're not going to live long enough for me to get it right. So I've just certainly been blessed to work with so many good people on this bench and also those of you in the audience as well. And so With that said, is there a nomination for chair and vice chair?
Ray, I'll make a few comments on until you get it right. I think you've done an outstanding job and have gotten things right, and your passion for career and tech ed, community and technical colleges, I think it's seen by everyone. So I'm almost tempted to nominate you again, but with the comments that you've made and the threats that you've made to me, I will not do that. But Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate David Rice as chair and Curtis Sneeden as vice chair, and move that nomination cease and we cast a unanimous ballot for those two gentlemen.
Do I have a second?
As my last official act, I'll second that.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone opposed? Well, motion carried. Congratulations, gentlemen. Appreciate your willingness to step forward. It's a very important position and also an opportunity for continued leadership. So we thank you for that. Okay. Quick reminder, our next full TEA meeting will be Thursday, August 21st. And it will be a face-to-face, so we'll be here in Topeka. And at this point, I would accept the motion to adjourn. Come on, someone.
I'll move to adjourn.
All right, do we have a second? All right, anyone opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
15 seconds early.
Look at that. Oh, let me, before, one more thing. Hey, Mark Hess is with us today in person, actually. And this is really his last meeting. He is really, so congratulations, Mark, and thank you for your service. And then you could be here. Thank you.